Hi everyone, this video is focusing on the Renaissance and its impact on Romeo and Juliet. Renaissance means rebirth in French, and it is very much the rebirth of Greek and Roman ideas, values, art, culture, etc., etc. It started in my favourite city in the world, which is called Florence, which is in Italy, and that was around about the 14th century, and then it ended in the 17th century. But in that time, the ideas that had originated in Florence went on to pass through Europe. So it's very much likely that Shakespeare would have been influenced by the ideas and the images that were popularized over time as a result of the Renaissance. And we can see this really early on in the play. So in Act 1, Scene 1, in fact, when Romeo is speaking to Benvolio, he states, "She hath Dian's wit, and in strong proof of chastity well armed, from love's weak childish bow she lives uncharmed." This reference is really clever here. So Diana was the goddess of hunting, so it makes sense because of those references to bows. And also Diana was the goddess of chastity. So what Shakespeare is doing with this allusion, which is a reference to another text, with this allusion, Shakespeare's making the audience draw comparisons and have a point of reference that Romeo not only sees this woman as being this really powerful and pious being, once again fitting his characterization that none of it is realistic, it's all hyperbolic, but he's also saying he can't have sex with her because Diana took a vow of chastity, and the audience would have been familiar with that idea, and now Romeo is suffering as a result of that chastity, like Rosaline is promising chastity. He wants to have sex with her, he's unable to, and so the audience would understand this reference and then be like, okay, I get it. I get how he sees her, and I understand what she must be like as well. Another reference that is a little more subtle, but might be an interesting thing to explore further, is Renaissance humanism. So humanism, in very simple terms, I'm simplifying as far as possible, is this philosophy and way of thinking that was popularized around about the same time, and it was focusing on people essentially finding self-satisfaction and fulfillment. So that would typically be in the form of education, and people were pursuing ways to improve themselves and not rely solely on divine intervention, not relying on religious figures, but moving more towards what they want to do. And you can see that in the play by the fact that these characters decide to go against what has kind of been written for them by their families and by societal expectations, and they decide to pursue their own wishes, though we see that goes against them, but the attempt to kind of defy society is quite an interesting thing to observe in this, and you might want to tie it into humanism. The Renaissance in general is a really fascinating time period, and I really recommend going out of your way to learn a little bit more about it. There's a huge amount of beautiful art and literature that was produced, and you can see a very noticeable shift in the kinds of things people were thinking and doing around about that time. Just before that, you had the Middle Ages, and very much a focus on religion, and then you saw a noticeable movement towards doing things for yourself, and now you can even say that the Renaissance is linked to how we might think nowadays. So I think it's very much relevant, and even if you don't think it's relevant, at the very least there's beautiful artwork to look at.